So you picked up that great Amarone wine that Marta talked about in a previous video. Now what to pair with that? We recommend a chuck steak, which has great marbling throughout the meat and will also add some flavor. And the Amarone wine has bright acidity that will cleanse your palate in between bites. We're going to top that with great Gorgonzola cheese, which complements the first impression of the wine, better known as the attack, which is perceived sweetness, which it's actually dry. If you missed the video and you want to learn more about Amarone wine, we'll recommend that you go back and find that video on Amarone wine. So here's our setup to cook our chuck steak. So we have our chuck steak, which is about 1.25 pounds. We have an oven-safe pan, a nice paper towel in which to pat dry our steak. We have our tongs. We have some Himalayan sea salt. We have some cracked pepper, some olive oil, and we have some Gorgonzola cheese on the side. The first thing you want to do is heat up your oven. Heat it up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you want to turn your pan on to a high heat. The first thing we're going to do is with our meat, we're going to pat it dry on both sides. This allows for the meat to make contact with the pan and it allows for a great sear. While your pan heats up, you want to make sure that you generously salt your meat on both sides. And make sure you pepper it as well. And you're going to let that get hot. And you're going to put some oil in there. And you're going to let it heat up. Okay, so it looks like our pan is hot. You can kind of see that little shimmer in the oil. So we know that our pan is hot enough. And we're going to add our steak. And we're going to pick up our steak and we're going to bring it towards us. And then we're going to set it in, but lay it down away from us so that the spatter doesn't hit us if any of the oil comes back. We're going to sear this on both sides for about 1 minute to 2 minutes on each side. You definitely want to hear that nice sizzle. That means the fat is coming out and it's sizzling in the pan along with your olive oil, and that helps to create a Maillard reaction in the pan and make a nice crust on your steak. So now we're ready to actually flip this over and see how our crust is actually formed on the other side. You see you have that great crispiness starting to form on the edges. That's going to be fantastic for flavor. So while this is cooking, I just want to tell you a few little tidbits about cooking your steak in the oven and after it's seared. So if you want to have a rare or a medium rare steak, you want to take it out of the oven when the internal temperature from your thermometer reaches 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And 130 if you want yours medium. So just keep in mind that you need to take this out, the steak out at this temperature, because it's going to continue to cook once you take it out of the oven. So now I've actually flipped it over back onto the other side, and you can see that nice crust that's developing here. It's going to be so delicious. So now I think I'm about ready to put it into the oven, and I have my Gorgonzola here ready for when I go and pull it out for the desired temperature, and then I'm going to put it back in after I put the Gorgonzola on top just to have it melt. So while we're waiting for our steak to cook in the oven, just a couple tips. Just remember that when that pan comes out of the oven, it's going to be super hot. So make sure that you have a great heavy duty pot holder. Make sure that you have your Gorgonzola ready to go. And you could put it right back in there and just check on it under the broiler, or you could just leave it at 400 degrees and just have it ooze over your steak. You also want to make sure that you let it rest so that all the juices go back into the steak. So now I've got my thermometer, I've got my high heat oven mitt, and I'm ready to take it out of the oven to see what the internal temperature is. That looks great. So my therm is actually registering 121, 122, which is actually nice for medium rare. Just keep in mind, it's going to still retain heat. So I've pulled it out of the oven, I've temped it, and now I'm going to put some Gorgonzola right on top. And that's going to go right back in the oven just so that it melts and adds that salty goodness right on top. And away we go. Into the oven. Also keep in mind, you can do this step under the broiler as well. But just remember, you've got to watch it before it burns. Woo! Oh, not yet. So I just took it out of the oven. Ooh, look at that. So now I'm going to take this and put it on a cutting board to rest. I've also started a lovely batch of steamed green beans that'll go really great with the fig glaze that I have. That's going to go right on top. So this looks delicious. This is exactly how I want my steak to come out. It's medium. It looks delicious. The cheese has some golden brown to it, and it's going to be absolutely fabulous with my steamed green beans. Hey, if you don't mind, hit that big red button down below if you like this content and want to see more. Hit that notification button, you'll know the next time when we release another video about wine or food. And don't forget to check us out on our website, www.corksandscrewcaps.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram.